Hello there. It's your girl Valerie Mason Chase, and I'm here with him this evening. The children affectionately call him
But you
downstairs.
started that
I
mess.
didn't. Sadell did
Oh,
because she
okay.
got it from Bernie Mac. So anyway, welcome to another episode of Marriage Beyond the Breach.
Excuse me, gotta say. Welcome, Knicks fan. Yes, we did it yesterday, guys. Okay, go ahead.
To tell you the truth,
I know you see.
I wouldn't give you a 5-cent nickel for the Knicks, the Jets, the Nets.
That's
the
just why you
whoever.
came in the game, in the room, and watched the game. I kicked you out.
Yeah. Hey, John. Yeah, he did. He put me out.
That's right.
Listen, here I am attempting to be a loving and supportive wife. I come back there to watch the basketball game with negative things happen.
No,
and he
three
put me
things.
out.
Three things.
Oh, John said Lakers in 5. Okay, John.
The 2 turnovers, the Knicks were up and they started losing. I said, Val, the only difference since you walked in here, the only difference in the game is you coming in. Soon as you left, it went back to where it should have been.
All right. Well, next time I'm going to stay.
And she came in there, I hope they lose. I had to kick her out after that.
Whatever,
yeah, Lakers in 5, John. That's right. The king. All right, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So, anywho, we're not talking. This is not an episode to talk about sports, okay? I am not, what's her name? Layla Ali. Is that her name? Who was the boxer? What was her name?
Layla.
I'm not Layla Ali, and you're not that bald head. I think he's bald. No, he's not bald.
Who?
That Stephen A. Smith.
Oh, I'm definitely not Stephen A. Smith. Oh, heck to the no. No.
But this is not about sports. So, what are we going to be talking tonight about, honey?
Roommate marriages.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about a roommate marriage, what it is, how couples might get there, and also, most importantly, we want to talk about if you find yourself in a roommate marriage, what you can do to fix it and to kind of turn things around. So I always like to start out with definitions. So what is a roommate marriage? A roommate marriage, it is a relational dynamic in which a married couple continues to live together and they function as partners in daily life, but the relationship lacks emotional, physical, and relational intimacy. A roommate marriage occurs when spouses shift from being romantic, they shift from being emotionally connected partners, and they become primarily co-managers of a shared life. It's similar to roommates who share a space and they share responsibilities and routines, but there's no deep connection. Hey, sis, good to see you. Thank you for tuning in. So what are we going to look at first? We're going to look at some of the key or primary characteristics of a roommate marriage. And what's the first one, honey?
Emotional disconnection. And that means there is little to no sharing of inner thoughts, feelings, or experiences. Conversation stays surface level or purely practical. The nervous system adapts to disconnection, making it feel like the new baseline.
Okay. Essentially what happens is couples, they stop noticing what's missing because their distance or the disconnection becomes predictable. It becomes normative. They see that now as their new norm, where they are very disconnected from one another. Another characteristic of a roommate marriage is transactional communication. So the partners they start to manage their life instead of nurturing love or nurturing a loving relationship. So the marriage turns into a business partnership and it might be efficient, but from an emotional perspective, it is completely empty. And so what do most of these interactions revolve around?
Bills, schedules, be it kids, work, whatever it might be. Kids, children, household responsibilities.
And it starts to revolve around that rather than couples having conversations about their dreams, about concerns regarding the relationship, and any emotional needs that they may have. So it's purely transactional and logistical. So when you're in a roommate marriage, most, if not all, of your conversations are going to be in that regard, where you're just talking about, okay, uh, Jimmy has baseball Tuesday at 5 o'clock. Um, Michelle has soccer on Wednesday and blah, blah, blah. And there's a PTA meeting on Friday.
Gotta take the car to the shop.
Exactly. Got to take the car to the shop. What are we going to have for dinner? What we're going to put on our grocery shopping list? All those types of things. But there are no conversations around the emotional connection or about the relationship at all. And another key characteristic of a roommate marriage is there is very, very minimal, and sometimes there is no physical or sexual intimacy.
I'm sorry, I'm thinking about something else.
Okay, so what were you thinking about something on this topic, or you just all thinking
I kind of
about
was,
the
but
Knicks?
I'll leave that alone. Anyway, no, it's okay.
You're okay for real.
It's okay.
Okay.
We're going to. All right. Parallel living. Why you keep you throwing me off? Okay, see, she's gonna get all nervous and be sweaty.
No, I'm
She'll be
frustrated.
Wait, go ahead, baby. All right, couples live together, but stop truly engaging with one another. I got that.
Okay.
Okay, we good. No, we good, baby. Go
We
ahead.
good?
We good.
All right, I'm gonna put up your comment in a minute, John. So being physically present without emotional presence, it creates a loneliness inside of the relationship. And dare I say, there's a sense of loneliness inside each partner. So types of affection such as touching, hugging, sexual intercourse, it's absent or it is significantly reduced. And often there's no conversation about it. They don't even they don't even begin to have conversations about the lack of physical or sexual intimacy. They just kind of go along. So John said, this is why they say to never stop dating your spouse, setting aside time where it's just the two of you is crucial. Absolutely. I agree with that 1000%. And I think that's even, you have to be even more intentional about it when you start having children. Because it's a bit easier when it's just the husband and the wife and they either haven't started their family yet or when their children are grown and they are empty nesters. It should be easier. Yeah, go ahead.
What came across my mind is when you have the kids, you might not even recognize that pattern you're developing where we're talking about becoming roommates, spouses, because you're so busy with the kids.
You're so busy with the kids.
Then when they leave, you start to say, hey, there's a big disconnect here.
Or the disconnect has lasted for so long, you don't even know how to reconnect, how to get back together. And that's why you see a lot of what's called now the so-called gray divorce, or couples who are together 20, 25, 30 years. All of a sudden now they're divorcing. Some of it is because not all of it, but sometimes it results from couples focusing so much on the children and what the kids need and all the logistical stuff, and not paying close enough attention to what's going on inside the relationship. And, I have said this before and I'll say it again. That's one of the reasons why, not the only one, but that's one of the reasons why I want to keep our grandchildren so much, because I want to provide opportunities for our children to connect with their partner. Because let's just face it, when you got young kids running around and they're climbing the walls and they're fighting and they're yelling and they're screaming and you're constantly saying stop and do this and go here and blah, 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 sometimes you're just too tired to connect with your partner. Sometimes the desire might even be there, but the mind might be willing, but the body is weak because we only have a finite amount of energy and we only have a finite number of hours in each given day. You only get 24 hours in a day. You only get 7 days a week, and you only get 28, 30, or 31 days in a month. And that's it. So when the kids are all over the place and underfoot, sometimes you're just tired. And before you know it, days and weeks and months and sometimes years have gone by. I can recall as an intern, I was counseling a woman who had not, according to her, she had not had sexual intercourse with her husband in over 20 years. And that's a long time to be that disconnected, but remain in a relationship. What do you want to say?
No, two things I thought about when you talk about the kids climbing the walls and you driving yourself crazy. When that moment comes, now what can creep in is a thing of selfishness, I guess, because now I just want my time where things are quiet and I'm sitting alone. I'm not connecting with you, don't want to spend time with you. You do that so often that pattern creeps in. And then there's the other question with this issue. I'm wondering, can resentment start to find its way into the relationship? Because we have that disconnect. Little things don't happen. You start to resent each other. Okay, so that's true. I thought about that.
So I want to address what you said about alone time when, let's say, the children are at grandma's house or auntie's house or whatever, and one partner or the other doesn't necessarily want couple time, but they want alone time. Absolutely, there's space for that. That's what you call balance. Because I firmly believe in a we time and a me time and family time. When a couple can incorporate all of that into their marriage, into their relationship, it's healthier. That way, the children are not neglected, the relationship is not neglected, and the person's sense of self is not neglected because they're spending time in their individual pursuits and activities. Because maybe there's something your partner likes to do that you don't want to do. And I do think that sometimes we should go with each other to do things the other doesn't necessarily like. But then sometimes you may want to go off by yourself and do whatever that thing is and not have your partner with you. So from my perspective, that is a healthy balance. So John said the marriage must come first. He says, I love my kids, but my wife is my first priority. Absolutely. See, we raised them right. Because that is exactly how it is supposed to be. And I understand that it is difficult for some married people to have that concept. And I think women struggle with it more than men. And John said, I don't care how tired I am, wake me up. Oh, he'll rise to the occasion. Oh, Lord have mercy.
Oh, to be young again, huh?
I know, right? Check out them 30 years from now and see. It may still on occasion.
Yeah.
It may still happen on occasion. So another, there's something else that you said. You talked about alone time.
And resentment start to creep itself in.
I think resentment is more apt to creep in when one partner is more aware of them falling into a roommate marriage than the other and seeks to address it and gets pushback from their spouse. And then the one who recognizes it and wants to do something about it, absolutely, they will probably end up with a lot of resentment. So another characteristic of a roommate marriage is kind of parallel living, in these kind of silos where each partner begins to operate independently. They have separate routines, they have separate interests, and they have limited shared experiences. Because as I said, it's all right to have separate interests and to do things without your partner. But when you do that to the exclusion of shared interests and doing things together, then from my perspective, it becomes problematic. So they live kind of in silos alongside of each other, but they're not with each other. There is absolutely no connection. Another characteristic of a roommate marriage is
low conflict, but also low connection. There may be fewer arguments, less conflict, but not in a healthy way, because this is often due to avoidance, emotional withdrawal, lack of engagement.
Yeah. And it's not necessarily because the relationship is healthy. See, some people think because they're not arguing or because there's no conflict that all is right with the world. But that's not necessarily the case, because you can have no conflict and not have any emotional connection either. You're not, there's no, listen, I'm going to say this again. I've said it before. From my perspective, conflict in a relationship is a good thing. It has the potential to be a good thing because it provides the opportunity for a broader conversation. Sure. If there's no conflict, a lot of times there's no real conversations going on. So conflict is in and of itself is not necessarily a bad thing, but when you are avoiding, when conflicts don't occur because you are avoiding hard conversations, one or the other is withdrawing emotionally. So the avoidance might protect you in a sense from pain momentarily, but it also prevents healing and reconnection. Because a lot of times conflict can lead to healing when you're having those meaningful and deep, open, honest, transparent, what I call come to Jesus conversations. Can be very healing.
Yeah, because I look at it as, I'm something's bothering me. I've been seething about it for weeks, and I keep avoiding it. Don't talk about it, and it just keeps manifesting itself over and over.
Yeah.
And then once we talk about it, now we might go ahead and battle for a little while, but that's okay as long as you don't hold any grudges and resentment and continue to talk about it and come to some kind of meeting. You might not agree,
right,
but at least you had an opportunity. First of all, I had a chance to vent.
Right.
We had a chance to talk about it. Now, it might not be settled at that moment, but at least what I was feeling internally has now been kind of exercised.
Yes, absolutely. And listen, again, I'm going to say it. I'm not saying I'm right, but this is my perspective. All conversations do not have to result in what people typically call a resolution, where there's it's resolved, it's in a neat little box, tied up with a bow. Sometimes you and your partner have to agree to disagree. You're not always going to you're not always going to agree. Sometimes you got to agree to disagree, and that is the understanding that the two of you can come to. Another characteristic of a roommate marriage is there's this sense of stability, but there's no fulfillment. The marriage may feel stable. It may appear as if everything is fine on the outside. There's no crisis, nobody's breaking up with one another, but internally, it can feel empty. Either partner or the other can feel lonely. And obviously, there is some disconnection that's going on because you can't exist in that roommate marriage and not feel lonely in some regard.
And sometimes when these words are brought to one or the other, I feel lonely or I feel empty. The first response is, well, why? We're doing this and we're doing that, as opposed to hearing that person and again having that discussion.
Yeah.
Well, what can I do? Not so much as, well, you shouldn't be lonely.
There you go.
That's what can I do? What can we talk about? What is making you feel that way?
Yes, that is so spot on, because what you just said happens in so many couples. One partner will bring a concern to the other, and the one on the receiving end will say, well, you shouldn't feel that way. Why do you think that? What's going on with you? As opposed to, as you said, wow, I'm so sorry you're feeling lonely in this relationship. What can I do? Or what can we do to help address your sense of loneliness inside the relationship? Because none of us should feel lonely inside of our marriage. That's the place where the one place where we should feel more connected than anywhere else. Connected, accepted, loved, cherished, appreciated, adored, all of those things. That's what we should feel within our marriage, not disconnection. So another aspect or characteristic of a roommate marriage is
increased criticism and blame. Subtle negativity begins to replace curiosity and compassion.
Absolutely. So you can have some unresolved emotional wounds that kind of come to the surface through criticism rather than vulnerability. You partners start to become overly critical of one another rather than approaching your partner with a level of vulnerability. And here will be an example of that kind of, as I said a moment ago, coming to your partner and say, wow, I feel lonely. Not you are making me feel lonely, but I feel lonely because of blah, blah, blah. That requires a level of vulnerability that sometimes married partners are not willing to engage in because they don't want to admit or acknowledge to their partner what they're feeling on the inside of themselves. Yeah.
But when you say the partner should come and say, I feel lonely, not you make me feel lonely.
Correct.
But then when you start to have that conversation, the person is feeling lonely because the other partner is not spending time with them, not taking them out.
Correct.
So essentially, aren't you saying I'm making you feel lonely?
No.
No. Right, because I can't make you. Oh, got it.
Exactly.
Come on in.
Yeah.
Okay.
And approaching a conversation in that manner, saying, well, you make me, or you did this, immediately puts the other partner on the defensive. That's why I encourage the couples that I counsel, don't approach your partner with you or why. Questions, conversations or a concern brought to your partner that start with either you or why, avoid. You got this quizzical look on your face.
Because I can hear myself coming to a lot. Why?
Yeah, you do.
Why you said that? Why you did that?
Yeah, you do.
And right away, sometimes you get your back get raised up. You know, and I understand it. It's a work.
John is asking, what does your shirt say?
Mine or your mother's?
He said yours.
Oh, well, I didn't read it. Okay. Can you read it now? What does it say, babe? Read it to him.
Smooth as Tennessee whiskey.
There you go. Even though I don't drink Tennessee whiskey, but that's
smooth as Tennessee whiskey. Okay. See, is Uncle Nearest a Tennessee whiskey? I see. I love that song. Yep, me too, son.
Okay.
I love that song. So, another characteristic or aspect of a roommate marriage is emotional withdrawal starts to feel safer than engagement. So you may have past conflict, unmet needs, and that leads partners to disengage. So I said it before, I'll say it again. Avoidance may feel like protection. You may think it's helping you to not experience pain, but it also gets in the way of healing. Oh, he said Uncle Nearest is Kentucky bourbon. Oh, see, that goes to show how much I know about liquor. I don't know. Bourbon, whiskey, scotch, to me, it's all the same thing. It's just brown liquor. It's all the same. They don't taste the same?
No.
No, really?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right. I didn't realize that. I tell you, well, they all taste the same to me because
they got some of them got some real kickbacks.
Yeah, true that. So now we've looked at some of the characteristics of a roommate marriage. So now what we want to address is how do you end that? How do you end that season? Because according to the Gottmans, John and Julie Gottman, who I absolutely adore, they are a married couple who are researchers and psychologists, and they have a whole theoretical and counseling format called the Gottman method, which I absolutely love. And what the Gottmans say is that couples moving into or finding themselves in a roommate marriage, sometimes it's kind of normal. But the thing is, it's a season. And like any season, a season can change. Seasons don't remain the same. So how can you get out of that season of a roommate marriage? Jackie said Jack Daniels. Jack Daniels, that's what she loved. John said there is a blend of Uncle Nearest is a Tennessee whiskey though. Oh, okay. Thank you for providing some education on liquor. Yo, mama, I still don't know the difference. You could put bourbon, whiskey, scotch. What other brown liquor is it?
Cardi.
No, that's white liquor.
That comes brown too, baby.
I'm not talking about that. That's a rum. I'm talking about specific brown liquors.
Much I know.
And even if I tasted it, to me, they all gonna taste the same, which is nasty and burn and they burn. So, anywho, what can a couple do to move out of the season of a roommate marriage?
Well, they can reintroduce intentional emotional check-ins.
Yeah. So how might they do this?
Set aside 10 to 15 minutes, 3 to 4 times per week for structured emotional conversation.
Absolutely. And I encourage all of the couples that I counsel to do this. Set aside some time. Have check-ins. Even if you don't want to do it 3 to 4 times a week, do it once a week. But it has to be intentional check-ins. Go ahead. You wanted to say something?
No, because I was doing this thing. I was thinking it's nice to set aside, but sometimes you got to be prepared for this. If I ask, well, baby, how are you doing? What are you feeling? Now that might be not my scheduled check-in time, but I got to be prepared for an answer, and it's going to require conversation. I shouldn't expect you to just say okay and just walk away.
First of all, I discourage one-word responses.
Okay.
If you are checking in,
right,
or if you're having a conversation, one-word responses, from my perspective, that's not allowed because that's not a conversation. So if even my clients, listen, let me tell you, I always start with the check-in when our session first begins. How was your day? How are you doing? How have you been since our last session? If they say okay, they know I don't allow that. What does okay mean? What has okay looked like for you since our last session? And when we are a couple is engaging in conversation, a one-word response from my perspective is not appropriate. So Liz is saying she thinks a lot of this requires a level of emotional intelligence on the part of each individual in the relationship. And you're right. And unfortunately, everybody's level of emotional intelligence is not that high. But you were right. However, I also am a firm believer that we can improve our level of emotional intelligence. In fact, I am in the process now of creating a format to share with my clients on that very specific subject of emotional intelligence, because I believe that when our emotional intelligence improves, every part of our life improves. Our relationship with ourselves and our relationship with others absolutely improves. So you're right, Liz. It does require that level of emotional intelligence. So when you're having that check-in, whether it's 3 or 4 times a week or whether it's once a week. If it's once a week, I would say give it longer than 10 to 15 minutes. You want to say, okay, you want to ask, well, how did you feel today? Was there anything today that stressed you or concerned you? And how can I serve you? What do you need? What do you need from me? And here's why this can work. Excuse me, because roommate dynamics are sustained by emotional neglect, not necessarily conflict. So this type of interaction, these weekly or 2 to 3 time weekly check-in, can restore emotional attunement and responsiveness. Because if you and I engage in a conversation and you just give me one word, then and I say, no, babe, expand on that a little bit. Share with me. Because I'm really interested in hearing what's going on inside of you. What are you thinking and what are you feeling? That has uh, a greater potential to increase that emotional connection between the partners.
But you don't want to really push a response, because if I respond, I'm okay. And you say, what does that mean? Honey, I don't want to talk about it. I'm okay. Do you now just let me go?
This is what you're asking me. So this is what I would
sure.
do. I would say, well, okay, I understand you're not ready to talk about it right now, and I want to respect that. When might be a good time for us to talk about this?
Okay, fair enough.
Because now I put the ball in your court. I'm saying that I am going to respect and honor your request to not discuss it right now, but I'm also letting you know that I care enough about you
Right.
that I am willing to come back to this conversation, and I'm leaving it up to you when we do that. Now, if your partner says, when can we come back to this conversation? I encourage to not let more than 24 to 48 hours go by.
You get lost in the sauce.
Absolutely. That's exactly what will happen. If you let it go too long, you're less likely to come back to the conversation. So another way to get away from that season of a roommate relationship is
shift from transactional to relational communication. What to do. For every logistic conversation, intentionally add one relational element,
such as
appreciation, curiosity, affirmation.
Right. Because it isn't that logistical conversations are a bad thing, because as a married couple, you have to have those types of conversations. But we're referring to when those are the only types of conversations that you're having. So you want to interject or inject some relational aspect into those conversations. Instead of saying, well, did you pay the bill? You might say, okay, you want to also add, I appreciate how consistent you are with handling that. That's appreciation. That's an affirmation that you can share with your partner. And here's why this particular thing works, because it interrupts that purely operational or transactional pattern, and it can reintroduce a level of warmth into everyday exchanges. Because, as I said, you do have to have those logistical conversations, but those conversations don't have to be purely logistical. So go ahead.
No, I was saying that, did you pay the bill? Depending how it's said, it's not necessarily a bad thing. For someone who doesn't have bill pay, where everything automatically comes out and you do it kind of manually, you're liable to overlook something. So you saying, hey, did you pay the bill?
Yeah.
Wow, you know what? I forgot. So I don't know if that's, but again, saying, hey, I appreciate how you handle that works too.
Yeah. Okay. What did you mean by that first part?
Saying, did you pay the bill?
Yeah.
I don't think that's a bad way to ask you something about a bill.
No. It isn't that is a bad way or an incorrect way to ask the question, but also inject some appreciation or affirmation and not have it just be
about
did you pay the bill? Because now it's only about the bills, this bill, that bill, the other bill, as opposed to including some relational aspect into the conversation. So another way to move away from the roommate season is to schedule non-negotiable connection time. I'm going to say that again. Non-negotiable connection time. Some couples, they have a weekly date night. That's non-negotiable. But in addition to having a date night, whether it's weekly, whether it's monthly, whether it's twice a month, because you don't want it to become so too routine, so to speak. You want to make sure there is still an aspect of focusing on the emotional connection, even when you are engaging in that non-negotiable couple time. And what I tell my couples when I counsel them, when you are having that intentional time, no logistical talk. Don't talk about them cheering. Don't talk about them bills. Don't talk about Johnny's soccer match. Have either leave your phone somewhere else or turn them off, put them on silent, and absolutely turn them over, because you don't want your focus to be on anything other than your partner. No kind of conversation about anything logistical. You look like you had something to say.
No.
Okay.
Not this time.
Not this time. And here's why this works, because listen, emotional connection within the context of a relationship or a marriage, it doesn't happen accidentally. It happens with intentionality. So when you schedule non-negotiable connection time or couple time, this counteracts that relational drift that leads to that roommate marriage, because roommate marriages don't happen overnight. It's a slow drift into that when couples are not paying attention to the relationship or to each other. It's a slow drift. It's not something that happens overnight. So another thing that couples can do to move out of the season of a roommate marriage is
respond bids for connection consistently. Train awareness around small moments when you and your partner reaches out.
No, when your partner reaches out.
Okay, thank you very much. Comments, humor, request for attention.
Yes, that bids for connection. That's also some phrase that was coined by the Gottmans. Now, the Gen Z and the millennials have repurposed that. They call it the bird thing, or the bird theory. Okay, and here's what a bid for connection is. When one partner is intentionally attempting to get the attention of the other, it could be something verbal, it could be something nonverbal, because you are attempting to connect with your partner. Now, the partner can either turn towards the one who's attempting a bid for connection, they could turn away from, or they could completely reject and ignore. Obviously, the appropriate response is to turn toward your partner when they engage in a bid for connection. It could be something as simple as, this has happened with you and I sometimes, because I am fascinated by God's artwork. And by that, I mean a sunset, the changing of the leaves seasonally, just when a beautiful spring day, and I'll point it out to you and say, wow, babe, look at that sunset. And what's your typical response?
Yeah, okay.
Exactly. Something like that. That is a missed bid for connection.
Yes, I get. Yeah. Because to me, that doesn't mean as much. And it's not that I can't recognize when she points out something that looks beautiful, but it doesn't move me like it moves her. But as you said, it's not whether it moves me.
It's
that's
whether
an opportunity and say, wow, you're right, babe. And we maybe talk about it for a couple minutes.
Exactly. I say it once, I'll say it a million times. It's not about the thing. It is about your partner. You don't have to give a hill of beans. You really think I care about the Knicks?
No, I know you don't.
Exactly.
I know you.
But I will come into the room when you're watching the Knicks, not because I care about the sport, but because I care about you.
I get that. And that sounds good on the surface.
No, but it is good.
But for me, what I feel, you bring a bad juju into the room because you don't care about the Knicks. If you like them a smidgen, I would feel that. But you brought or bring that negative juju, and I'm sorry, I love you, but you got to go for now.
Oh my goodness.
Honey, yeah, you want to come in? I don't mind you coming in and want to share that. Actually, that's nice. But when you come in and start talking about they got the wrong sneakers on and they missing this shot and why he got to do this and oh, I hope they lose. No, you can't bring that.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. If you want to come in here because you care about me, bring some positive energy.
Noted.
Okay.
Noted. Duly noted. And I will make sure I do that going forward.
Okay.
I will enter the space only with positivity.
There you go.
Okay.
But I'm gonna feel it. So you got to practice.
I'll practice. I'm practicing. So another way that couples can try to move themselves away from the season of a roommate marriage is to rebuild physical affection, but to do it gradually. Because you don't want to go from a complete absence of physical or sexual intimacy to now, there's the expectation of engaging in it all the time. So what do? A good place to start is with non-sexual touch. I believe that people underestimate the importance of and the significance of non-sexual touching, sitting close to one another, holding hands, walking arm in arm, hugging when we greet at the door or when one is leaving or the other. That non-sexual touch, I don't think it could be overemphasized. We can't overemphasize that. And you progress with your physical contact only as comfort and connection increase. Because it may be that there's been the absence of physical or sexual intimacy so long, it may feel uncomfortable when you start to re-engage. So go at a pace that is comfortable for both partners because you don't want either partner to feel overwhelmed. Okay? You don't want either partner to feel overwhelmed. And for anyone who might be just now joining in, what we're talking about is understanding the roommate marriage. We talked about what it is and how and what it looks like, and now we are addressing how to move away from that season of a couple being in a roommate marriage. And so rebuilding physical affection gradually, here's why that works, because physical distance often mirrors emotional distance. Reintroducing touch regulates the nervous system and it rebuilds safety. And safety is very important. Emotional safety is very important. And physical safety is just as important when you are reintroducing physical touch in a relationship that has been in a roommate marriage for any significant period of time. Another thing to do is
you want to address avoidance directly. Name the disconnect explicitly in a calm, non-accusatory way. We've been functioning well, but not connecting well.
Good. That is a great entry into the conversation. A great way to introduce a conversation about connection. We've been functioning well, but we haven't been connecting well. And the partner may ask, so what do you mean by that? What do you mean we're not connecting well? And then the partner who initiated that conversation will have an opportunity to explore some things. You can explore what each partner may have been avoiding. And you can also address what has felt uncomfortable to address, whether there was a level of discomfort or a level of unwillingness. And here's why this works, because of roommate marriages persist because of mutual avoidance. It's not typically because one partner has avoided connection. Typically, both partners are avoiding connection. And you can disrupt the pattern by naming it, by beginning to have those conversations and talk about where we are in this relationship. Another way to move from a roommate marriage and to move out of that season is to reestablish shared meaning and vision. Have a structured conversation around, what do we want this marriage to feel like? What kind of couple do we want to be now? And that now is very important. Not the kind of couple we wanted to be 5 years ago or 10 years ago or 20 years ago. We ain't never going to be that again. We're just not, because hopefully there's been some growth. And with growth, inevitably comes change. So have conversations. What do we want our marriage to look like now? Now that our children are in high school, now that our children are in college, now that our children are gone and we are empty nesters, what do we want our relationship to look like now? And why this works is because many couples, you're operating on outdated relational expectations. So when you have this conversation about what we want our relationship to look like now, this creates an alignment and working in a forward direction, not looking back. We can't fix what's back there. That's done. That's over with. So we're not going to go back there.
I like the word alignment. It made me think of, you have this car, just like life and a marriage, and you've been going through life, you've been using it, and it's going across some bumpy roads, and now the tires are going in every direction. Got to take it in for a realignment.
That's right. And listen, when a car has been out of alignment long enough, you get used to it being out of alignment, and there's certain adjustments both you and the car make to navigate and stay on the road or in your lane properly. But when that car is realigned and is running like it should, you notice that too. You say, wow, I didn't notice this before. But now that this thing is fixed, I can see where it was out of line all along. Same thing in relationships. That's a great example, Cookie Man.
Thank you, dear.
So another thing that a couple who has been in the season of a roommate marriage, what they can do to move out of that season is
practice daily micro intentionality. What to do. Incorporate small daily actions. 6-second kiss.
Oh, hold on. Listen. That's 6 seconds. You think 6 seconds isn't that long, but that's just long enough. You get enough tongue action and you get enough of that connection, that mouth to mouth. Wow. That can make a huge difference. And what else?
20-second hugs.
A 20-second hug.
One intentional compliment. Well, if I give you a compliment, it has to be intentional, right?
Well, I guess.
Okay.
Instead of intentional, say me heartfelt.
Okay.
Heartfelt. I will change intentional to heartfelt, because sometimes compliments are given routinely, but they're not necessarily heartfelt.
Yeah, I like that. Okay.
So I will change that.
One moment of undivided attention.
Undivided attention. Very often, Frank and I will be having a conversation, and I will say to him, or he will say to me, look at me. I want eye contact. Or a lot of times I'll say, hey, I'm over here. Or I'll suddenly get silent and he'll look up and I'll say, okay, that's what I was waiting for. Because I don't want to talk to you when you're looking at your phone. I want to talk to you if you're looking at the TV. Okay? and vice versa.
Okay,
Honey, I just said sometimes we'll say that to each other. Sometimes
or through the wall. I don't want to talk through the wall. Come outside.
Exactly. Sometimes I might be in the kitchen doing something, and Frank is trying to have a conversation with me, and I'm still trying to stay in the kitchen to finish what I'm doing. He'll say, "No, I don't want to talk to you through the wall. I want your undivided attention." And that is a good thing. That those moments of intentional connection. And here's the thing about that. Consistency matters more than intensity.
Right.
These small actions, I'm going to say small daily actions because it's helpful when a couple can do it on a day-to-day basis. They help to rebuild relational momentum over time. Again, you didn't get into a roommate marriage overnight. You're not going to get out of a roommate marriage overnight. It's going to take time and intentionality and absolute consistency. It's not a one and done. You can't say, well, I kissed you last week or I held your hand a week before last when we were walking to the store. No, consistent, consistent, consistent. Yeah, you about to say something.
Yeah, when I read through that, I like that because I thought that those consistent daily little things start to add up before you know you got something huge when you look back at it. And it takes away the pressure of trying to plan a over the top something, whatever the something may be.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's pressure. There might be lack of funds. And after you go through all that pressure, it's done. It's over.
Yeah.
But if you're doing something daily, every day,
small thing every day,
you don't have to look back and say, "Oh my goodness, I ain't did nothing in a week." It's just I enjoyed reading that part.
Yeah, and sometimes, see, I think men
Yes
put themselves in a kind of trick bag by thinking they have to. It has to be this grand romantic gesture. Now, don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with a grand romantic gesture. But we as women know that's not something that can happen all the time. And most of us who really care about our partners and are not gold diggers, so to speak, we appreciate those small daily gestures on a regular basis. To me, that is so much more meaningful than that grand romantic gesture because I know that can only happen once or twice a year, or maybe once every 5 years, or maybe once every 10 years, depending upon what that grand romantic gesture is and what it's going to cost. So, yeah, those small daily things can mean a lot. So another thing that oh yeah, Liz said sometimes it can be romantic to just kick back and watch a murder mystery on Netflix. Yes. Netflix and chill. There's this couple that I follow. I don't know if it's on Instagram or TikTok. I don't even know. But I love this couple so much because they are very, very intentional about creating at home dates. I wish I could remember their names. If I do, I'll bring it up at another time. But they create they share the clips of their home dates, and they plan it out so well. Sometimes they'll make a meal together, and they'll decorate the table and put the food out, and they'll have their chilled glasses and their glasses of wine. And one home date, if they had a movie night where they had an inflatable mattress and they put it out on the bed and they made it like a tent and they had the movie up on the screen. I mean, they go all out when they have these at home dates. So just because you're staying home and you're going to have an at home date and you're going to Netflix and chill, you can still make it special. It doesn't have to be ordinary. There's nothing wrong with ordinary, but every once in a while, you can make a Netflix and chill very special. You're absolutely right, Liz. It doesn't have to be And a lot of couples are doing that nowadays because we got all these streaming services. We might as well use them. So you also want to, in order to move out of the roommate marriage season, something else you could do is
you reduce parallel living
by
intentionally overlapping routines. As you said before, cook together, walk, share a nightly ritual.
A nightly ritual. And I don't know how many couples may have a nightly ritual. I have what many of my couples recommend what I call the Focus 15. And what I call the Focus 15 is the 15 minutes just before you go to bed, where you intentionally focus on each other. The kids are in bed, they're out of the way. If you have children, they're out of the way. The dishes are washed. You've already done your prep for the next day. So before going to bed, you have your Focus 15. Whether you sit down and share a glass of wine together or a cup of coffee together, and you just intentionally connect. I call that the Focus 15. And it doesn't have to be more than 15 minutes because studies have shown that as little as 5 minutes of intentionality in a relationship can have a huge impact on a couple's ability to remain emotionally connected. So that nightly routine cannot be overemphasized. So yeah, you move from the parallel existence or living in silos like this, and you intentionally do things together. Whatever that might look like. You might want to play tiddlywinks, whatever, play Monopoly. Who cares what it is? As long as it's something that you are doing together and there's a high level of intentionality on connection. And another thing you can do to move out of the season of a roommate marriage is seek structured support. And that simply means get help. Go to couples counseling, because a couples counselor can help provide some structure and can help to even identify that you're in that season of a roommate marriage, and it can help to accelerate the reconnection process. And that's what it's all about. Because in a roommate marriage, you've moved away from that emotional connection. And when you want moving out of the season, the entire goal is to move towards reconnecting with one another. The emotional connection, the physical connection, the spiritual connection, the financial connection. Because sometimes in a roommate marriage, even the finances become disconnected. And there's no real conversations about doing anything together from a financial perspective. So that's it. That's all we got on the roommate. What final words might you have, babe?
Go Knicks. I just like that's one of my ways to connect with. I just like to mess with every now and then.
Yeah. To mess with me every now and then. So yes, and just because you find yourself in a roommate marriage does not mean that you have to stay in a roommate marriage. There are things that you can do. And I just want to say this. If tonight's conversation has resonated with you in any way, just remember a roommate marriage is not the end of your story. However, it is a signal that something meaningful needs attention. Something meaningful needs intention, and it needs care, because healthy marriages don't happen by accident. They are built through pursuit. They are built through presence, and they are built through consistent connection. So the real question isn't, how did we drift? The real question is, are we willing to move toward each other again? Are you willing? And are you willing to take the steps? Are you willing to do the work? So I want to thank you all who have been here with us tonight and those who may watch later, because I know a lot of times people will watch the podcast not live, but they will watch it later. And so what are you talking about?
I was waiting for someone to say something. I wanted to say, so when I want to have that connection and I lay on the couch and lay my feet on you, you're not going to say, get my feet off you?
As long as they smell all right.
See, it's got to be a condition. I can't feel comfortable putting my feet on you and not worrying if they might have a little smell to them.
If they got a little twang, babe,
you get a wash rag.
I will appreciate if you handle your business.
Oh, I see.
Before you come put your feet in my lap.
And then I could do it. No problem. It's my feet now. It's okay.
Then it's okay.
Go ahead. They're listening.
Then it's okay. Sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes, yes, that would be absolutely okay. But anywho, anyone who's watching, and if you haven't already done so, I would appreciate to subscribe, like, share, subscribe, like, share. And even if you have already subscribed, I would appreciate if you would like and share on the YouTube channel, because that does make a difference. So I want to invite you all back on next week. Next week, we got a doozy for you. We are going to be talking about biblical marriage, and I'm putting that in air quotes for a reason. And I have a very special guest. Some of you may have been following him on Instagram or on TikTok. He is none other than Pastor Sean Broadnax from Taka Church down in Maryland, also known as Sean Riffraff. I'm going to have him on next week, and it promises to be a very riveting conversation. So I welcome you back on next week, and I thank you all for watching. God bless, and I'll see y'all next time.